on, y'all? This is your boy Abe. Welcome to the channel. Okay, hope you guys are doing well out there. Hope you guys are safe. Hope you guys are healthy, man. It's crazy out there right now, man. So today, I want to do something a little special to me specifically. I want to provide some type of hope and light to individuals who may be stuck, in life, or, that teenager or that young child who may be in a broken home, or who may be in the struggle, or who may be, in the projects, or whatever the case may be, like I was, who didn't have their father and all that stuff, and no guidance, and, just a single mother, and don't really see a promising future for themselves. So I know I talk about in my past videos how I try to, keep my videos short as possible because they can get wordy. I'm not even really worried about that today. So this one is all about lessons. Okay, this one, you need to sit back. This one is for if you're a parent, you have a kid that may need to see this. Sit them down, let them listen to this video. I'm not really concerned about the length of it. When it's over, it's over. But I just want to say what I have to say, get it off of my chest, because I've had a few people reach out to me. And, if you follow me on IG, I post in my story every day. I go to the gym and I call it the grind report. And it's very consistent. Like, I rarely have a day off, So I have people asking me, where do you find your source of motivation? And, they ask me questions like, who are you? Where are you from? And things like that. And they want to know more about me. So I want to take the opportunity to expound on that. I want to, because it's unique. The way in which I get my motivation is a little bit different. I pull from my past struggles, mishaps, the pain, the failures, all of those things. I pull from all of that, and I've had a lot of that in my life, and a lot of people don't speak about this, and a lot of people are scared to speak about this, but honestly, I would venture to say that it's the pain and the struggles that makes the individual, not the successes, and I know that's probably something that could be common knowledge, but maybe not so common to most people. So what I want to do here today, I'm going to let you guys know what I'm built on in terms of the struggles, and where I come from, and why I think the way that I do, and exactly who I am, So that's where I'm going to go with this, because I feel like it's essential. Like I said, I appreciate the individuals who did reach out asking me those questions. It was the motivation behind this video. Okay, so I'm going to get right into who I am. So I'm not going to highlight any of the successful stuff. I'm going to highlight all the struggles, all the pain. I'm going to expose all of that. So I was born in Monroe, North Carolina. Okay, I was born on Parker Street, which was right in front of a cemetery. Okay, so I was born in front of a cemetery, and actually my very first playground was a cemetery. I mean, every day I remember riding my tricycle through the cemetery, playing, with the tombstones, playing with the flowers on the tombstones. It was a really big, cemetery in front of my house, like right across the street. Okay, so that was kind of my introduction, into the world, and I didn't feel spooked out at the time. I was just riding my tricycle, on the sidewalks, and thought it was pretty fun. So at that same home, when I was around, I would have had to been younger than 5 years old. I did witness a man, get his throat cut, like from ear to ear. Okay, and I don't know what happened. I don't know what transpired. I just remember seeing the inside of this guy's neck, as he ran into our home. Okay, I was young, and that's pretty much all I remember. But it's that type of stuff stays in your head. Okay, so the next traumatic thing that I remember happening to me at 6 years old, I remember losing my virginity on my birthday, my 6th birthday, to a younger girl. She was a little bit older than me, but she was still young as well. She was probably 7. And her brother coerced the whole thing because he had his girlfriend in a room, and I guess he wanted to set up, the situation or what have you. Even though young boys, may think it's cool to like girls and do those type of things, at 6 years old is way too young to be losing your virginity, okay? And so, but because it's something that I remember to this day. It wasn't something that, it's not anything I'm bragging about at all, you know what I'm saying? I'm mentioning these things as milestones and things that can play back in your mind and kind of, be disturbing when you think about it. Again, I'm talking about the struggles here. I'm talking about the things that, I had to overcome, so that was at 6 years old. I'll never forget it. So it had to be about, 1988, so the next thing that I remember, the next traumatic event that I remember after that is I do remember seeing a guy. This is after I moved from Parker Street to West Street in Monroe. I seen a guy cut his throat, this guy, and I'm not going to mention anyone's names in this, this guy could be dead by now, but he was someone that was in love with my aunt. And I just remember the guy had a jerry curl, and he was sitting in the kitchen crying, and all the adults were going crazy. And, I went to the kitchen, I was looking, and I seen him actually cut his throat. I seen the blood on the floor and all that stuff. And he ran out of the house, and, he got in his car, and I don't know what happened from there. But I do remember seeing it and just feeling the fear and everybody, and remember hearing everybody screaming in the house, and this guy cut his throat. And I sit there, and as a little kid stared and watched this guy cut his throat. I'll never forget that. That image is burned in my mind to this day. Same home, West Street. I lost, as you would hear me refer in a few of my videos, what I consider my hero. I lost my grandmother at 9 years old. Okay, before 9 years old, everything was pretty much perfect. My grandfather held the house down. Okay. Of course, there was some things going on. My mother, she had me young, so she had her battles. Some of my family members that lived in the house, they were dealing with, drugs and things like that. But for the most part, my grandmother, my grandfather held everything down. But when she passed, we lost everything. Like, we lost the home, everything. You understand? My mother had to leave Monroe and relocate to Winston. I stayed in Monroe with a neighbor for a short period of time. But yeah, everything went downhill. My grandfather, he remarried, and things just went downhill from there. Okay. And at 9 years old, like I said, things started to go downhill. Busted out a car window, and really almost, caused like a major accident. Just being bad, and threw a rock at a car that was actually driving like down the street. Threw the rock, hit the window, and car fishtailed and all that stuff. Ended up getting in trouble behind it. Had to go to court behind it at 9 years old. Ultimately ended up being on probation, okay, at 9 years old, and almost being sent to foster care at 9 years old. Because again, like I said, my mother had moved to Winston. I was staying with a neighbor who wasn't an actual legal guardian. So I went to court. They wanted to know who was my legal guardian. And at the moment, I didn't have nobody. So they were actually in the process of, calling in the social services to come and, I guess put me in foster care. But they did get my Uncle George. He came and took custody of me. So that was my savior right there. That was my angel. If it wasn't for him, I would have been in foster care at 9 years old. So 9, lost my grandmother, probation. 9 was very traumatic for me, I remember standing in the courtroom facing the judge with a yellow raincoat on and not really having the answers and not really knowing, very scared, and yeah, it was just a horrible time. Also, around this time, I remember, again, it was tough. I remember stealing clothes off of clotheslines, because I couldn't You know, I didn't have anyone that was really buying me any clothes, you know, and I was trying to keep up with everybody. And so I would actually go through neighborhoods and take clothes off of clotheslines. And again, like I said, I'm being super transparent here because everybody want to show what's pretty and what's polished, you know, and they want to hide the pain. You know, there's power in the pain. You know what I'm saying? There's strength in the struggle, and that's what people need to understand. A lot of people are who they are because of the struggle. It's not their successes that define them. It's your struggles that define you. You understand? It's the pain that you've went through and the stuff that you've overcome that defines you. You understand? Because a lot of that stuff tear people down. Like a lot of people, they go through these things and they don't make it out. You know, they end up getting on drugs. They end up going to jail. They just tear their whole lives up. You know, and that's what I witnessed. You know, like I see my friends lose their lives, lose their freedom. You know, and I could have very well been that same individual. And no knock to them. You know, God bless them. But you know, I just overcame those things, and that's why I'm here to provide that hope for the kid that could be witnessing and seeing the same stuff, you know, going through the same stuff over and over again for many years and don't think there's any way out or any hope. There's hope. There's a way out. So that's why I'm telling these stories, okay? They're very near and dear to me. There are things that are burned in my mind, you know, that caused me a lot of pain and struggle. But you know what? I'm here today, and I'm healthy, I'm successful, I'm, you know, happy, and I'm full of energy, and I'm full of hope, and I'm full of everything, you know what I'm saying? Nothing that I would have ever thought that I would be, you know, 15, 20, 25 years ago, you know what I'm saying? So that's why this video is super important, okay? So even if it's 1 or 2 or 3 people that this video touches, you know, I need it to translate. I need it to get through to you, you know what I'm saying? There is hope, there is light. There is a way out, you know. You may not be able to see it, maybe foggy, maybe a lot of pain, a lot of confusion, but there is hope. Just don't go off the deep end. Don't get on the drugs. Don't do nothing crazy. Don't go to jail. Get into the books, you know, push through. Okay, anyway, back to my struggle. So I was stealing clothes off of clotheslines, okay? Laugh if you want to, you know what I'm saying? It's funny to me now, you know what I'm saying, to look at that. And I'm not mentioning anybody's name, but this one particular person, I'll never forget, I stole the clothes off his clothesline, wore them outside, and he actually ended up seeing me, right? And he, in his clothes, I wore them outside, he seen me and said, man,
I got that same outfit.
You know, and I just laughed it off. And, you know, again, this is me, young kid, 9, maybe 10, you know, years old at the time. And, you know, just reckless, you know, just reckless and just what many would probably call at the time what I felt like a lost cause, and definitely was on the way to becoming a statistic, for sure, okay? That was around 9, 10 years old. Also 10 years old, I actually tried to sell crack for the first time, okay? I was, again, still in Monroe, North Carolina. Didn't have any money, and I remember going to my friend's house. My friend ended up, you know, his older brother shared a room with him. Under his older brother's mattress, you know, was crack cocaine. He was explaining to me how much money I could make, $20 if I sold one little piece, and he told me where to go. He gave me one of the pieces, told me where to go, which was a house like right up the street. I actually went to the house. There was some, it was late, it was dark, you know, it was probably like 11 or something. It was late. I don't know what time it was. It was late. And I just know that I gave the piece of crack to the guy sitting on the porch. It was an older man. And, you know, this is where I believe that the divine intervention kicked in, because the older man put the crack rock in his mouth and went into the house, and he never came back out, okay? You know, and had he came back out and I made that $20, I know that my life story would probably be different. You understand? Like I probably would have been, you know, it would have been on from there, okay? I'd have really, because I had nothing. So $20 that quick off of something that small. But I didn't get the money. And I was also saved by a lady that was across the street who seen me as a child standing in front of this crack house. She was screaming at me, and she was screaming at the top of her lungs, running after me, telling me to get away from this place. and I took off and I ran. I'll never forget. And my homeboy, who was again my age, was standing laughing at me, and I'll never forget. And I can't forget because I still have the scars on my hand. I fell over the parking block, in the parking lot, and I fell like this, and I slid, and I scratched up the back of my hand, and I still have the scars on my hand to this day. So I look at it as a reminder, you know what I'm saying, that you don't have, I just look at it, like I said, I look at it as divine intervention. I just look at it as a reminder of the way my life could have turned out, jail, death, drugs, you understand? And it didn't. I didn't get the money, so, it is what it is. I didn't get the money, and I never looked back, and I never wanted to do it again, because that whole situation was super traumatic to me. It was super traumatic to me. Just even that brief little moment, 10 years old, I didn't really understand what was going on. I was scared. I know it was illegal, all that stuff, and I was just scared. You know what I mean? So shout out to that lady. I don't know who she is, but she saved my life. You understand? She saved my life, so I appreciate her. So yeah, that was 10. Another traumatic situation that happened to me at 10 years old. Again, all of these things were going on. No guidance, no father, probation, just all kinds of things. It was few fights in there, just hopelessness, even at 10 years old. So by this time, you're coming from, all of this, as a child with no explanation, no guidance. It was a lot of pressure, and some bullying, a little bit of stuff, you know what I'm saying, and just being able to look at people and knowing like my situation wasn't like everybody else's, growing up in, with younger mother, no father, around drugs, all of these things going on, it just built up. And at this moment, I was young, I was 10, and I was confused, and I actually tried to commit suicide, okay? But not to the degree like with a gun or anything. I thought, by slitting my wrist, that was a way, again, young, stupid. I'm not trying to, say this to trigger anyone or any of that stuff. I'm saying it because it needs to be said. Again, I'm not here to paint the beautiful picture that people, create online. I'm here to tell you the truth and transparency about who I am. So 10 years old, I did, cut my wrist, and of course I didn't die, but I didn't bleed out either. I bled, but I didn't succeed, Of course, it wasn't nothing crazy. No ambulances were called. I didn't have to even go to the hospital. They actually put salt on my wrist, and it actually stopped. But the people were panicking, and so, that kind of was the last time I ever thought about doing something like that. So that was at 10, thoughts of suicide at 10 years old. Okay, so on to 11 years old, I moved to Winston-Salem with my mother. My mother, she regained custody, moved to Winston-Salem from Monroe, North Carolina. I do remember a brief period of homelessness. We stayed in Winston-Salem on Patterson Avenue in the bottom of a church, right by a soup kitchen. There's right by that church is chicken. Up the hill there's a church. And I do remember sleeping in that church. We was homeless for just a brief period. I don't know how long. It wasn't long at all, but we were homeless for a brief moment. So we moved to Winston-Salem. I do remember also staying with some family members for a brief moment as well. But we eventually moved into one of the more infamous, project housings in Winston-Salem, which is known as BDP, okay? Kimberly Park Terrace, known as BDP. So anybody from BDP, or Winston-Salem, or Trade 4, they know what BDP is. So I moved there at around 11. And that's where things got harder, but better at the same time. I know that's kind of hard to understand, but, better as if, my mother, my brother, me, we were together. I was a young kid, I had friends. But, it got a little worse because I'm around a lot of drugs. My mother, she was struggling with drugs. I was around a lot. I witnessed a lot in BDP. So, and ironically, to this day, and I'm pretty sure it's because of my age, I wasn't up there in the age with like the drug dealers and all that stuff, but it was one of the best places I've ever lived, as a child, because of, it just being a place, where me and my friends, we were all, we had the same struggle. You understand? It was somebody I could relate to. It was people that I could relate to. 95% of us, 98% of us didn't have our fathers in the home. Like we were all in the struggle together. We found ways to find happiness in the struggle. So that was the blessing in the projects, With all of the chaos around us, we were able to find the happiness and the fun amongst each other, which was beautiful. And we did that consistently every day, whether it was through sports, whether it was through creating, building a tree house, whether it was, just playing, going to the pool, going to the rec, whatever the case may be, we found a way to find happiness in the struggle. And that teaches lessons, the lifelong lessons, how to, even in, stressful situations, how you can find happiness, and that's something I learned in the projects in BDP, Kimberly Park Terrace. But also there, I witnessed death. I seen, a lady burned alive in front of me. She was looking at me in my eyes as she laid on the sidewalk dying. I actually gave her my shirt. A man was murdered a boy, 19-year-old teenager, murdered on Christmas right in front of his grandmother's house. Again, I'm not mentioning anybody's names. Anybody from that area knows what I'm talking about. I remember going the next day, seeing like brain matter still on the sidewalk, blood stains still on the sidewalk. I seen a guy that was on drugs drop dead, and die, not in my face, but, like a few apartments down from me. I got caught up in my first drive-by in BDP. 7th grade, I remember getting jumped in class right when I got to Winston, really. I was the new guy, and I actually got in a couple fights, and one of the fights didn't end well for the other guy, so he got his big brother to walk up in the school and they jumped me. They walked up in the school during second period, walked in the class, teacher was pregnant, beat my ass, in front of everybody. This guy wasn't even in school. I was in 7th grade. This was his older brother who was out of school. Okay, he walked up in the school and they beat my butt. My teacher was pregnant. I took the overhead projector, tried to throw it at them. He had me by. It's okay, Lucky. It's okay. It's okay. And again, I might do some isolated story times on some of these. I ain't going to expound on none of them. He was pacing back and forth, and I seen him, and then he just came in during the second period, grabbed me by my collar like this, and just started wailing on me while the other guy was just hitting me in the back of the head and the side and everything. Teacher screaming, everybody jumping behind their desk. I grabbed the overhead projector, tried to throw it, hit him, all that stuff. It was crazy. So I wasn't received well, Then I got cool with, cooler with some of the guys from BDP, who had, a lot of respect. And then once I started hanging with them, that type of stuff subsided eventually, right? Also in BDP, one thing I'll never forget is seeing a child being brought out. I was on my way out going to school. My next door neighbor had a child that died. And as I was coming out, the child was being brought out in a body bag. Like I'm going to my bus and the body bag is like right beside, like we're walking side by side. I'm looking at a body bag with a child in it, and going to my bus, So it was just a lot of death, destruction, drugs in my life. A lot of, struggles, from 9, but a lot of traumatic things even before 9, as I mentioned, but from 9 on to 17, a lot of reasons for a weak-minded individual to fold. But see, the thing is, what you gotta understand is you gotta find that that special something inside of you. I know it sounds very cliche, but that's the one thing I held on to. I knew I was different. I knew that I didn't want to, come into this world and be a statistic. I always would ask, this can't be it. This can't be life. Like, I just knew I was special. You gotta know you're special. You gotta know your value. You understand? That's the one thing that I held on to. I said, I'm not going to allow the world to tear me down, because I seen it tearing down everything around me. I said, I'm not going to allow the world to tear me down, even though I see no reason to believe it won't happen to me, because it's happened to everybody and everything around me. I just held on to the fact that, look, I got to be stronger than everything around me, everybody around me. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I built myself up on internally. I said, you know what? That's what it is. And everything that came at me, I started to, that was negative. I started to develop a mindset to where I was like, you know what? I'm going to dodge it, like drugs, because I seen what it did and what it was doing to my family and my community. You understand? So I said, I'm not going to partake in it, So throughout my teenage years, where like weed was the thing for everybody, all my friends, you know what I'm saying? I never smoked it, So part of the reason I never smoked, and not the only reason, but part of the reason, I don't know if there's some statute of limitations or anything like that, I used to have to pee for my mother, she used to have, I would give her my clean urine, you know what I'm saying? So she would pass drug tests, and because if I didn't, then we would have been taken away, we would have been in foster care. So I kept my urine clean. That was one of the reasons. But the other reason, again, is because I seen how the drugs were tearing down my community, you know what I'm saying? So, and even my friends, and and the things it was just doing, I didn't want to be a statistic. I didn't want to be a part of it. So I didn't partake, okay? No drugs, okay? And in the projects, man, like it was, and me and my business partner, 24 Karat Black, Cool KL, he was in the struggle with me, stayed right across the street from me. He had brothers, I had a younger brother, and I just wanted to, my goal was to keep my brother good, keep my younger brother good, and being I was a little older than, some of my friends, I wanted to be a good example for them. That was another thing that kept me motivated. My brother, I just wanted him to know that, he was safe. We had a lot of things going on in our home. And, I wanted to be out in the street with my friends and be cool. But I also had to understand I had a younger brother at home, who was like 4, 5, 6. At the time, he needed me there. We didn't have a father. And there were all kind of people, that would be in our home and things like that. And I had to be present there as well, and I found myself, some nights, man, like, a lot of activity going on in our home, man, I would hold him, I would hold him so he'll know he's secure, you know what I'm saying? Like, and that was just habit for some reason. We would hear gunshots, it would be police raids, it would be fights. There was threats on our home at certain times. There was one drug dealer who threatened to shoot up our home. It was all kind of crazy shit, So I had to be that protector for my younger brother as well, So that was even before I could even work. You understand? I was 11, 12 years old, even before that, what I'm saying? Just having to be, a good, positive, strong figure, leader for my home, what I'm saying? And willing to do whatever I needed to do to make sure that happened. I built the basketball court in our bedroom in the projects, with the tape and everything, like the free throw line, the 3-point line, everything. What I'm saying? I built the basketball court in our room, what I'm saying, to let them know, like, look, man, we can create our world. We would ball for hours. What I'm saying? And that was my way of distracting his mind and keeping him, letting him know he didn't have to go outside, because outside ain't the best, right now, where we live. And, we would watch, basketball games like Nickelodeon, what I'm saying? Like Doug, that was our show back in the day, Rugrats, all that stuff, Legend of the Hidden Temples, all that good stuff, man. Like, I would do that, so you keep them distracted, and let them know I'm here. That's what you got to do. If you got a younger sibling, what I'm saying, then that's what you got to do. And you don't got the father in the house, that's what you got to do. You got to be there present as a positive energy and force for them. What I'm saying? And that's what I did, man. In the projects, you got to just, what I'm saying, shake it off. There's a lot of shit going on, a lot of distractions, a lot of stresses, but you got to still be there for the younger siblings. You feel me? And that's what me and my brother, like I say, co-partner, 24 Karat Black, co-business owner, 24 Karat Black, Cool KL, he did the same thing for his siblings as well, So, and ironically, me and him are just one of the few, or two of the few, that made it out, what I'm saying, of BDP. you know, somewhat successful, if you will, considering, you know, some of our friends ended up going to jail or ended up dying, you know, and most of them, you know, we don't really, you know, we can't connect with them all. You know what I'm saying? We lost a lot of them in many different ways. We lost them, you know. Lucky, shh, Lucky. Get out of court. Get up there, Wawa. Get up there. 14. Okay, at 14 years old, so things kind of started to turn around a little bit for me. That's when I got my first job at the Winston-Salem Urban League, and I thought it was boom from there. You understand? So, you know, my first job, you know, like $120, you know, a week. 14, you know, was enough for me. And, you know, I was cleaning toilets, I was taking out trash, I was washing windows. I was really learning the value of hard work at a young age. So that was a blessing in itself right there. You know? So, yeah, man, you know, but unfortunately, though, growing up the way that I grew up, you know, we wasn't taught, you know, how to manage your finances and stuff like that. Like money and managing your money and all that stuff was not a conversation that was had with me. So I was blowing through my little 120. You know, I was blowing through it. And, you know, so this message is for kids out there who, you know, maybe getting their first, you know, paycheck or what have you, starting their first little job. Learn to save your money, learn the value of your money, learn how to invest your money. You know, those same Air Force Ones, you know, that I was going crazy for back in, you know, 96, you know, they're selling the exact same shoe today. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of the things you're going crazy for, the trends and stuff, they're going to still be there. You know what I'm saying? So 14, got my first job, all right? But, you know, it was enough for me to, you know, buy a PlayStation, you know, bring it home, you know what I'm saying? Be able to, you know, buy my brother some clothes, you know, buy me some clothes, of course, you know, get fresh with my little money, you know, provide for the house a little bit, buy a little food, you know what I'm saying? Little things like that. So at 14, these are the things that I had to do. All right, so at 15, another very traumatic experience for me. I was almost killed by a cop, a white cop. And again, I'm not going to expound too much on it. Like I said, I may do separate, you know, story times or something like that for these things. But long story short, you know, I had a BB gun, and me and my friends had a BB gun. One of them no longer here. They passed away some years ago, but I was around 15 years old, like I said, and we were just in a Kroger's parking lot playing with our BB guns, you know, innocently. We just kind of pointing them at each other. I was at a bus stop, honestly, waiting on the bus, you know, so I could, you know, go home, you know, and we were playing with the BB guns and, you know, not thinking that, you know, they look like real guns. You know, we weren't thinking about it. We knew they were fake guns. So cars going in and out of, you know, Kroger, you know. Someone seen us playing with the guns and called the police and thought we actually had real guns. So the police pulled up on us like fast. Like they pulled up on us, lights, you know, sirens, everything pulled up on us, and got out of the car, and they were yelling, you know, they were like, hands over your head, you know, and we were kind of shocked for a second, and they were telling us they got reports of guns, you know, and so my homeboy, both of my homeboys threw their hands above their head. I put my hand above my head, and I'll never forget, the cop came up behind me and he was patting me down, and, you know, I had my hands on my head, and he asked me where was the gun, and in my mind, it's a BB gun. So everything was happening so fast. You know, I reached for the BB gun. I told him it's on my waistline. It's right here. You know, and he screamed at the top of his lungs. And he was like, put your hands above your head. You know, like he screamed at the top of his lungs. And he was like, where's the gun? You know, and I told him where it was. And he screamed at the top of his lungs, man. And I actually heard his holster pop. He said, put your hands on your head. And he was yelling, and everybody was looking, and my homeboys was like, yo, hey man, keep your hands on your head, keep your hands on your head. So I kept my hands on my head, and at that very moment, I realized how real it was. He thought it was a real gun. He reached in my waistline, grabbed the gun, and threw the gun. And I told him it's a BB gun, it's just a BB gun, you know, and he was shaking. He was obviously nervous. He was obviously like super nervous and upset with me. He grabbed me, he threw me on the cop car, you know what I'm saying? And and he put me in handcuffs, you know, and he was talking to me, and he told, like, and at this point, one of my homeboys had stole a car ant. They had stole a car ant, and one of my other homeboys, again, who shall remain nameless, was in trouble with Kroger's for stealing. They had his picture in Kroger's. At that very moment, you know, the cops could have did, you know, whatever they needed to do with those two guys, but the experience that the cop had with me was so traumatic to him that he actually let those two individuals go. He let them go, told them to go, put me in handcuffs, right? And had a long conversation with me, you know, and told me that I almost died. You know, this was a white cop, you know. So, and this is, you know, how I know all cops ain't bad cops, you know what I'm saying? Because at that very moment, that guy could have blew my brains out, but he didn't. But he put me in handcuffs. He had a long conversation with me. And after I was talking to him, he seen the innocence, you know. He took the handcuffs off. He took the handcuffs off of me. And he said, you know, I'm going to take you home. And I got into the car, and he put me in the back of the cop car. He drove me home to my mother. You know, he got the BB gun. He took me home to my mother, to the projects. I never forget it. It was nighttime, you know. Everybody out, you know, on the porch in the projects. I'm pulling up in a police car. And, you know, he called my mother to the car. And he had to tell my mother. He said, "Man," he said, "I almost killed your son tonight." And he's like, I just want you to know, I almost killed your son tonight. And he showed her the BB gun. He said, "Do you see this gun and do you see my gun?" He was like, "Do you know which one is real, which one is fake?" I never forget that conversation. My mother didn't know. She was crying. And he was like, "Exactly." He was like, "Your son had a BB gun. You know, we didn't know if it was fake or not, but he had a BB gun." And he reached for it. So he said, and I could have shot him. He's like, and, you know, he asked her what she wanted him to do with the gun. "Do you want me to give it to him or you, or do you want me to take it and dispose of it?" And she told him to take it. And he took it, you know. And he took it and he left. I don't know that officer. I don't know his name. I just know he was a white guy. I know what a lot of stuff is going on now in our country. You know, how, you know, cops are looked at. And yes, a lot of these cops are crooked, and a lot of them deserve to burn in hell. But a lot of them are good as well. And that was one that actually spared my life. He had the opportunity to blow my brains out, and he didn't. And if you're out there, you know, again, I don't know your name, thank you. You understand? Thank you. But my mama beat my ass. My mama beat my ass all the way from the sidewalk, all the way up to my room. She beat my ass, you know, and I couldn't do nothing but sit there and take the punches, you know. And that was a traumatic experience in my life, you know. That was a very traumatic experience in my life. And we about to fast forward, you know, to 16. 16 was my first time going to jail. 16 years old, keep it short, stealing, making the wrong decisions, you know. Nothing big, you know. It wasn't the stealing that actually put me in jail. It was the fact that I could not afford the fine. So I couldn't afford the fine. I ended up having to go to jail for 8 days. And this was in Forsyth County Jail. And I was on the 10th floor. And it was pretty sad, man, because
what you doing in here
I was
anyway?
23-hour
You ought to be
lockdown
home with
at
your
16.
mama.
23-hour lockdown at 16. And the even sadder part is I remember walking in on the 10th floor, and the very first thing I heard was a few people calling my name, like out of the blue, like Ab, you know what I'm saying? Because Ab is short for abstract, which is my childhood nickname. So I had to sit in, you know, and watch this little, you know, it was kind of like a, you know, like a jail etiquette video, if you will, like, you know, how to conduct yourself, and, you know, about, you know, making weapons and the penalties and consequences and all those things to avoid, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, sitting there, you know, I was hearing these voices, you know, and ironically, one of the voices was from one of the guys that was with me the night that I had the BB gun incident with the cop. You know, he was in jail. I didn't know, you know. So crazy part is I was on the 10th floor. So it's a white guy to the right of me, 37. I call him 37. He called me 36. To the left of me was a childhood friend who actually killed another one of my childhood friends over a girl that was later killed, in Winston-Salem. But right beside me in this cell was him, and then the guy that I said was with me on with the BB gun incident. So all in the same row, So this white guy, I don't know, I don't remember his name. I called him 37. He was in the cell, and me, and then a friend and another friend, which was just a huge coincidence. We're all sitting up there, and we all had to be 16, all had to be 16. And so 8 days, 23-hour lockdown, because, you take the tuberculosis shot and you have to wait for it to come back, I guess, negative. And mine, it took longer, I guess, I don't know. But I was there for 8 days. I never went to population. But during that time, that was a transformational time for me. That time of being in that very small cell by myself, with a very small window, just to see freedom at 16, was so much time to reflect. I sit in that cell and it was lonely, and they turn the lights off, they turn the lights on, feeding me my food, through the little door. All of that, man. Just, again, questioning my existence and, not wanting to be a statistic, trying to fight it, like trying to fight this system that it's just like, it felt like a black cloud was over me. And that's why I want to relay the message, because, it only takes a word. It only takes a word and a statement from someone, that you can trust and believe in to deliver it, to actually, spark your mind and make you think differently, make you live differently, give you an outlook, give you hope. And, to go back really quick, the reason why I know this is true and this is powerful is because I had to be about 12 or 13 at the time in the projects. And I remember going to the rec to play basketball. And it was a guy, it was a drug dealer, he stopped me. I had my basketball in my hand, and he, I'll never forget it. It was, just a normal day, going to the rec like I always do. He stopped me and asked me if I wanted to sell weed or make some money. And I told him no. I said, I'm on my way to the rec. I want to play basketball. And he looked me in my eyes and he said, you're a king. He called me a king. And I went in. He let me go on my way. He didn't bug me about it, didn't pressure me about it, anything. But that was the first time in my life I could remember being called something of value. You understand? And just that 10-second interaction stuck with me forever. So I know the power of words. I know the power of the message. And that's why I felt like, when I got the DMs about, who are you, where are you from? Like, I seen the opportunity to provide the value and the lesson, in a struggle. And so, so in jail at 16, and that was a transformational time for me. So I just basically, I needed to be saved. There wasn't enough love present in my life. There wasn't enough leadership present in my life, and I needed to be saved. Yeah, on a more positive note, and one of the more transformational things that started to take place around that time was, after jail, reading. I became more inquisitive about life. I started to read books and things that I go to the public library and just grab little odd books for some reason and just read them. And I remember reading a book about sinking the chi, but a variety of other books. I would dibble and dabble in, but what it did, it opened my mind to the world, and just more esoteric ways of thinking, deeper ways of thinking, things that you don't see or you don't hear about when you're in the projects, or when you're in poverty. And it made me realize that the world is so much bigger. The world has so much more to offer. And I really, really developed a hunger to live and to find my value and my purpose at that point, And that's another reason why I know the power of words, And that's, and that's why this video is going to be impactful to somebody. I pray it is, The fight and the will to survive in the projects, the friendships and all of that stuff that was developed. So it was a beautiful nightmare, if you will, you know what I'm saying? But I wouldn't change it for the world, because it made me who I am today. And that, again, is, why, I'm so driven, and I'm able to pull from a deep source of experience with life, in terms of, looking at the way I approach my day or my exercise or problems or anything in life. You know what I'm saying? There's so much I've overcome that certain things in life just don't, it's just like, what? Like, man, we're going to get this done, So it's just something different, when you're living in poverty and, you see people one day and, they're gone the next day. I vividly remember walking down the street with two of my friends, probably 14, 15 years old, both were amazing friends. And I remember their smiles, I'm in the middle. We're just walking down the sidewalks of the projects one night, beautiful night. And I never forget it, we were just talking and kicking it like we always do. Both of those friends are gone today. They died early, they died early, and they both had these amazing smiles, man. They both had these amazing outlooks on life. And even though they were struggling, and in my mind, I always wanted to see my friends succeed and make it out. But unfortunately, they died in the struggle, So, but I hold those memories in my mind, like with me, what I'm saying? And I really value them. But yeah, man, it's just something when you see people alive one day, you remember shaking their hands and their smiles and laughing and seeing life in them. And then the next day, what I'm saying? They're gone. It's crazy. It's one of those crazy things. So it can be very traumatic. So, like I said, if you're a parent with a kid that's growing up around this stuff, or if you're just a teenager or a kid and you're able to find this video and you're going through this stuff, there is hope. There's light. There is a greater opportunity for you. Actually, you got an advantage because you're developing the armor that's so powerful and so strong, that's going to be able to get you through many different situations, Like if you can just survive without becoming a statistic and letting society break you down, you're going to be able to develop a almost superhuman strength, if you will, of just, determination and character, with the experiences that you go through, So just trust me on that. You just have to stay the course, educate yourself, stay away from the things that could tear you down, the drugs, the negative people and all that stuff, the violence, all of those things, jail, all that stuff. Educate yourself and keep pushing yourself forward in a more positive way, and write down your goals and all that stuff. Stick to it. Trust me. Just trust me on this. You have to. Just looking back at my situation, I needed to be saved, and that's the same, that I would say for a lot of the kids that grow up in these environments. You need like something to hold on to, something to latch on to. It's like being, in the middle of the ocean somewhere, fighting the current. You need somebody to throw you something to help you stay afloat. It's exhausting, on days where you have to kind of figure out how you're going to eat. I remember as a teenager having to stand outside of stores and ask for money, in order to get food. I remember there was a guy at the Adams Mark Hotel downtown Winston-Salem. We would go down every now and again, and me, some of my friends, and we would go to the restaurant in there, and he would give us free food because he knew where we were coming from. I would have to go downtown Winston-Salem from business to business and ask, can I take your trash out for money? In order just to get a few dollars in my pocket. It was things like that, survival every day. It can be exhausting, and it can kill your optimism on life. Like you don't have any, like I said, there's no light. You don't see anything. It's like, is this it? And then your examples around you are dying and going to jail. So it's a lot of death and destruction and drugs, So I was needing to be saved. So the thing was for me, I know what my grandfather and my grandmother had, what kind of examples they were, and I know I got a glimpse of what a home could look like or feel like, through them, just glimpses of, even though we had problems in our home, when I was younger, but I still got glimpses. So also, being that I was going through so much, I always told myself, if I ever had the opportunity to be a father and to have a home, then I was going to hold it down. I was not going to drop the ball like my father did. I was going to take that opportunity to create a home. At 17, still, I'm a young, impressionable teenage boy, just trying to navigate through this concrete jungle, if you will. And all I know is I cannot become a statistic and that I'm special. Like, I just kept telling myself, like, I'm special. I'm not going to become a statistic, and I didn't. So at 17, fell in love, and even that was magical in a sense. Like, I needed it. I needed to be saved. I needed to feel like, someone cared. I needed to be, a value to someone. I needed to, feel like I had a purpose, and it was like my life raft, if you will, because like I said, it was just so much going on in my life. And this was the first time I kind of found peace, and calm, if you will. And even though I was young, I seen a lot for myself when in this relationship with my queen. So at 17, fell in love. The outlook on life changed. After I fell in love, the world just really opened up for me. Things just really started to take off from there. I'm not saying that everybody should fall in love at a young age. I'm just saying that love is the answer. I don't know when you should fall in love. That's for you to determine. But love saved me. You understand? If it wasn't for me falling in love and having this new outlook and new purpose and new role in life at a young age, I don't feel like I would be here. I think I would be dead or in jail. It took my attention away from the struggle, gave me goals, gave me motivation, right? So at 17, boom, fell in love. And 18, we actually, moved into our own place. We got our own car. I was working at Baptist Hospital. And these moves made me feel like, oh, I'm really, really, really doing this. I'm creating a home. I have that power to recreate what my grandfather and my grandmother had, those examples. So got our own spot, and and at Baptist I was killing it, man. I was working like 60-hour weeks, like no lie, because it's a hospital, so you can work as many hours, so I was working 60-hour weeks at Baptist at times, maybe even a little more than that, and I'm not exaggerating. Okay, so I was really, really doing it. We had an apartment, had a car, things were looking good, had a little money, had nice furniture, I'm creating a home, baby, like I'm getting my home that I've always wanted. And boom, the queen ended up pregnant, so ended up pregnant with twins, so at 18, expecting twins, I'm just, overly excited, because at this point it's like it's really happening. I'm about to have that opportunity to be that amazing father, that I've always wanted to be. In the home, everything is coming to fruition. Everything is happening. So it's just a blessing. So I'm grinding, working, and putting in the work, and but unfortunately, they didn't survive. They were born prematurely, and their lungs were not fully developed, and on March 2nd, 2001, they passed away. And that was the absolute toughest time in my life, to have to watch them live for 3 hours, but struggle to breathe for 3 hours. So you can just imagine how that hospital room was, the sadness, the crying from the doctors, the nurses, my mother, her mother, everybody in the room was just tore apart, because these two babies were alive and they were struggling to breathe. So we had to wait for them to pass away. So it was one of those very, 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 very traumatic things that you'll never forget. You can't unsee this stuff. So lost my twins. So RP Destiny and Adrian. So that was a tough time. All of my hopes and my dreams of building that family just instantly just gone, and it crushed me. Like, it crushed me to the soul. And it was one of those things you just have to, again, lean on the struggles you made it through and the things you survived, and understand what you're built from, because certain things like that can tear you down. It could drive you to drugs. It could drive you to do something violent. It can drive you, to do something crazy. Like it can affect you mentally. It can tear you down mentally. It can do all kind of stuff. It can do harm to you, or make you do harm to others or to yourself, or whatever the case may be. Because it was heavy. It was a heavy situation. So unfortunately, that traumatic event happened, 2001. The blessing a year later was my oldest daughter was born, and then a year and a half after that, my youngest daughter was born. So 2002, 2003, my oldest and my youngest daughter was born. So my dream of developing a family and creating a home and all that stuff, it was there, you know what I'm saying? And I hit the ground running, it was like, okay, let's get this, I'm not going to be what my father was. I'm going to be that man that I needed when I was young. I'm going to be that leader, that I needed when I was young. And that was the spark, if you will. From there, it was like, I'm just working at Baptist Hospital, just like around the clock. And I'm like, even at that point in Winston, it's so small, you're thinking like, this can't be it. I gotta get out of this. I can't just, spin my wheels here and, working 50, 60-hour weeks, just to make, $1,000 on a paycheck. You know what I'm saying? So I need something bigger. I need more opportunity. If, I feel that I'm different, if I feel that, I can get more out of life, and I know that this is not it, then I have to get out of Winston, So me and the Queen, we started to think. We was like, so what are we going to do? Is it going to be New York? Is it going to be Atlanta? Like, where are we going to go? So at 20 years old, left Winston-Salem. We had a plan. I vividly remember the trips back and forth that ultimately damaged our car, but, we would travel from Winston-Salem, North Carolina to Atlanta, Georgia, Winston-Salem, North Carolina to Atlanta, Georgia. There was one time in particular I had an interview at Target. I drove from Winston-Salem to Atlanta, right, to do the interview, and orientation, and had to drive right back to Winston-Salem, North Carolina, because I could not get the day off, from Baptist. So, it was just crazy like that with two babies, so it was crazy, but we had to do what we had to do. So, ended up getting a job at Target in Atlanta, and that's where life started, in Atlanta. We moved from Winston to Atlanta, and me and the Queen, we've been together for 22 years, working on 23 years strong. The girls, 18, 19 years old. Life is beautiful, man. Like, there's challenges, of course, as a parent, but I overcame, a lot of stuff, that would have never allowed me to see this day, I survived so much, overcame so much to get to this point. I've made it in corporate America. I've sat at the table with millionaires. I've been the only black kid in the room. Made 6 figures. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've really, really elevated, myself, and my mindset and my outlook on life. And I have so much more to give, so much more to prove. And, this was me just kind of showing the pain and showing the struggle, because I know the value in it, because that's the reason I'm here, because what I was built on, the foundation is built on a lot of power, a lot of, grind, a lot of strength, a lot of self-reflection, a lot of things that helped me through those dark moments. You know what I'm saying? That's what my foundation is built on, so I know what can happen if you stay focused, if you stay optimistic, if you stay prayed up, if you lean on your higher power, you know what I'm saying? If you lean on your higher power, you can get through it. You just have to believe, and you have to know the value of yourself. You have to see the value in yourself, and there's so much more to happen, like I said, after that. But I just wanted to take y'all through, my younger years, my adolescent and teenage years, and my young adult years, and let y'all know, like, it was consistent struggles and many reasons to give up. Many reasons. I had so many opportunities to give up, but you gotta understand, like, all of those situations are character builders. Those things are making you better, making you stronger. That's the fire. Fire is a purifier. You'll come out stronger on the other side. All of those experiences have provided me with a powerful arsenal of just energy and motivation and inspiration, and just, when I self-reflect on all of the stuff that I've made it through, you know what I'm saying? Like, everything in front of me seems so easy, but you got to get through those things. And that's what this video is for. It's for the people who feel hopeless, the people who feel like they don't have a chance, the people who don't see the opportunity or the light. They don't see it. They don't feel it. There's no love. There's nothing. You know what I mean? I was there. I was in those rooms by myself, in the dark, lonely, no answer, no leader, no hope, for many years, all by myself. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just letting you know that there's a brighter day. There's a better way. You stay focused. Hear it from me. But just as I highlight the pain and the struggles, I also take pride in the fact that, I was strong enough to overcome these things. So that's what you got to understand. If you are strong enough to overcome even one tough moment in your life, that says a lot about you. So if you can do it over and over again, if you can, avoid becoming a statistic, if you can fight peer pressure, all of those small wins, add up to huge, to a huge victory in the end. So you just have to know that there are certain weapons against you, especially as a person of color. And if you're in a certain part of the city, you got to understand your target. Society is not built fairly for you. So it is actually built to destroy you. So you have to understand these things, and at all times, you have to always know that the devil is present, and that's how you win. So I'm not going to ramble any longer. I think that the message I wanted to get out and that needed to get out is out. Please remember to share. Please remember to subscribe. Please remember to like this video. And I appreciate everyone's time. And again, I believe in you. I believe in you. Keep going higher. Peace.